Welcome to the We Can Fix Climate Change podcast, where we'll be discussing practical techniques to combat climate change. Join us on our quest towards a better, more sustainable future. Subscribe today to stay updated on the latest episodes and explore real solutions on how we can preserve our planet for generations to come. In today's episode, we'll cover the devastating impact of Canada's wildfires on climate change, Iowa's extra tax on EVs, the importance of electrifying homes and buildings for America's net zero emissions target, and the upcoming International Maritime Organization meeting under pressure to address shipping's impact on the climate.
Let's talk about the recent wildfires in Canada. They have brought attention to the role of big oil in exacerbating climate change. A recent article by The Guardian titled "Canada is on fire and big oil is arsonist" revealed that the oil and gas industry is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, which in turn contribute to the warming of the planet and the increasing frequency and severity of natural disasters like wildfires. It's concerning that despite this, the oil and gas industry continues to receive government subsidies and support, while Indigenous communities and the environment suffer the consequences. The article further states that it's time for Canada to prioritize the health and well-being of its people and the planet over the profits of big oil and transition towards a sustainable and just economy. It's clear that something must be done to address this issue and to ensure a better future for everyone. So let's continue to keep a close eye on this important issue.
Next, we've got some news that's a bit of a buzzkill for electric vehicle owners in Iowa. Your rides will now be subject to an additional tax. That's right, as of July 1st, Iowa became the first state to impose a second tax on EVs. This new tax is in addition to the standard registration fee and applies to the number of kilowatt hours your EV uses annually. So why the extra tax, you may ask? Well, it's meant to make up for the money lost from gasoline taxes that EVs don't pay. Makes sense, right? But critics of the new tax argue that it's unfair and sends a discouraging message to those who are considering making the switch from gas to electric. After all, EVs are already more expensive than their gas-powered counterparts. Unfortunately, some other states are considering employing similar measures. For more on this, visit our Substack and check for the link to the Electrek article. Iowa EVs now pay 2 taxes where gas cars only pay 1.
A recent article from Grist talks about the United States' ambitious target to reach net zero emissions by transforming its housing stock. The article, titled "To Reach Net Zero Emissions, American Homes Need an Electric Makeover," highlights a new report from the Rocky Mountain Institute, which states that homes and buildings are critical areas that need to be electrified for the country to achieve its goals. Did you know that buildings account for 28% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S.? That's a big number, and it's clear that something needs to be done to reduce emissions from this sector. The report notes that electrification can play a significant role in decarbonizing the economy, potentially cutting emissions by up to 95%. But how can we encourage homeowners to switch to electric heating and cooling systems? The report suggests providing incentives to make the transition more affordable and feasible. Additionally, we must expand renewable energy sources to ensure that we're generating electricity efficiently and cleanly. Overall, the report highlights that we must take bold steps to electrify our homes and buildings if we hope to achieve our climate goals. It's an ambitious initiative, but one that's definitely worth pursuing.
Next, a segment on international shipping. The Guardian just published an article about how the International Maritime Organization, IMO, is facing mounting pressure to tackle the climate impact of shipping in an upcoming meeting. It turns out that shipping is responsible for roughly 2.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and this number is projected to soar by as much as 130% by 2050. Yikes. This has raised concerns among environmental activists who argue that the IMO has not done enough to reduce emissions from the shipping industry. They are pushing for stricter regulations and a shift towards cleaner fuels. The meeting will also address the impact of shipping on marine biodiversity and the importance of introducing sustainable practices in the industry. The results of the meeting could have far-reaching implications for the future of global shipping, so it's one to watch out for.
Today's episode covered how Canada's wildfires emphasize the need for sustainable economic practices, how Iowa is imposing an extra tax on EVs, why electrifying homes and buildings is key to America's net zero emissions target, and the pressures on the IMO to address shipping's impact on climate change. For more information on these stories and the sources cited in this podcast, be sure to visit our weekly Substack newsletter. Links are in the description. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for our next episode.